I love a good AI workflow, but the problem with most of these workflows is that they make us constantly switch between our notes and our docs and our AI tools, which means that we end up copying and pasting from notes into ChatGPT or Claude and back again, which just feels super inefficient. Not to mention that we're paying for multiple subscriptions just to get some things done. ChatGPT for this, Claude for that, Gemini for something else. Well, Tana's AI chat changes all of that. Not only can you chat with any of your favorite models right from within Tana, you can also easily reference any of your notes so you never have to copy and paste again. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to use Tana's AI chat with your favorite LLM model without having to copy and paste your notes somewhere else, how to migrate your ChatGPT or your Claude projects into Tana as custom commands, and how to organize your chat so you can easily find them again. And trust me, this is going to be way easier than navigating ChatGPT's sidebar. But before we jump in, if you don't have time to watch endless YouTube tutorials and you just want to build a high-performing digital workspace that works harder than you do, then check out my Tana Fast Track course. It will get you up and running in Tana, well, fast. First, you'll learn all the fundamentals in less than an hour. Next, you'll choose from our 6 core workflow templates that are simple plug and play. There are not 86 super tags to install that you're never going to use. You choose what templates you need to customize your workflow. And you also have our TFT community to ask questions and get direct help from me, plus a load of other resources. Over 500 people have already taken Tana Fast Track and loved it. So if you want to get on the Fast Track, I'll leave a link in the description below. And now let's get into the video. Now, Tana's AI chat isn't actually new. We've had AI in Tana for over a year, and we've had Tana chat for over a year. But what has changed is the fact that you can now have multiple LLM models and you can choose between each. And I think this is interesting because now you can really, whatever model that you like, for instance, I don't love the ChatGPT models. I much prefer Claude. So now, instead of having my Claude subscription over here and using it because I don't really like what Tana's AI is giving me through ChatGPT, I can now just use Claude right from within Tana, which opens up a whole lot of workflows for me, especially as a writer and somebody who uses Claude all the time. But maybe you like Gemini. Well, you can use Gemini right from within Tana. So let me show you a couple of different ways how you can use AI and AI chat in Tana, as a chat bot, just like you would with ChatGPT or Claude. And then also by connecting your notes, which I think is the most interesting part, because I feel like for me, the real kind of time suck comes when I'm copying and pasting from one app into Claude or ChatGPT, copying the results back. Like there's just a whole lot of switching that happens, which just is unnecessary, and you don't actually need to do that in Tana. So let me show you how AI chat works. You can start an AI chat from anywhere within Tana just by clicking this button here in the sidebar, which opens your AI chat. Now here you can type anything. If you have a question, if you want AI to do something for you. The other day, I wanted to summarize the book, The Company of One by Paul Jarvis. So let me do that. Whatever you would type into ChatGPT or Claude, you're going to type right in here in Tana. Now, where it gets interesting is right here is where you can choose your models. And so in Tana, you can choose between GPT models, you can choose between Gemini models, and you can choose between Claude models. And they really make it easy to see kind of like the cheaper models. Okay, so if you want to go budget, the more kind of like moderately expensive models, and then the actual expensive ones here. And you had everything from, your 3.7 Sonnet extended through to like O1 models, that kind of thing. They do take up a few credits, and I'll talk about how AI works in Tana with credits. But mostly I kind of go between my favorites, which is 3.7 Sonnet, Gemini 2.5 Flash with reasoning, and then also I still sometimes use GPT-4o. So let's say we're going to choose GPT. Okay, and then all you have to do is press send, all right? And that's going to do everything that ChatGPT would do or Claude would do. And it acts just like a normal chat where you can ask a follow-up question. You can even use these buttons here to get it to explain something, summarize something, continue writing, translate it into a different language. So there's some really cool things that you can actually do. Now that's just a normal AI chat. Okay, we didn't actually even bring anything in, a note or a document or anything like that. Okay, we just asked it to summarize. So let's then talk about starting an AI chat from an actual note. Okay, so right here, I've got a note that I've been working on just some things that I've been thinking about, right? In terms of like AI and conversational thinking. So when you're in any note in Tana, you can actually do this. You can go ask AI about this content. And then in this side panel, what that does is it pastes that note in here, okay? And you can ask a question. I'm going to say, summarize this note for me. Now, you'll also note that it puts some references down here. So anything that is tagged within this note, it references it, okay? So I've got a lot of things referenced. And so everything is going to kind of come into this chat, be sent off to AI and come back. And you can see how simple that is rather than copying and pasting all the notes. So all the notes that I have here, if I had to copy all of those, paste them into ChatGPT, paste them back in here, it just takes way too long. Okay. So then again, we can choose our model. Now for this one, I'm going with 3.7 Sonnet and then send it. And so now we've got a great summary. We can keep chatting about this note and it's got all of that context. I could take this summary and I can actually come here and copy it, and I can copy it into my notes if I need to. And then I have that input right in here. And so again, you can see just how quickly you can use AI in Tana when you have your notes and your docs and, you know, you're doing work in Tana and then just needing to use AI. So rather than like copying and pasting things around. So some of the other cool little tips and tricks that you can do with AI in Tana is that you can go at and you can bring up any of your notes. So if you wanted to reference another note in here, I could reference this one. And then I could also search for AI, say this one. Okay. And then, you know, ask it any questions or, you know, do any kind of like prompt or workflow that I need with it. And so I love doing that. The other great thing that you can do in an AI chat is you can actually create a search. So if I wanted to search for, so find nodes with tag, let's say post with field date from this date, right? I can find all of the posts or any other kind of search. I can just come in here and I can change the search queries. And what that's going to do is that it's going to take all of those search items and it's going to send it over to AI and process it in whatever way that I want. I love using searches, not just here in the general chat, but also in custom when we start to create our custom GPTs, which I'm going to show you later in this video. It's a really powerful way to dynamically update your different AI chats and your different AI commands, which is super powerful. All right, so let's talk about how AI works in terms of plans and what you're going to need in order to use it. So the plans that you're going to want to be on is either the Plus or the Pro plan. Both of those include AI credits. And so basically anytime that you send something over to AI, so you use the AI chat or you use AI chat features, that is a certain amount of credits. So on the Plus plan, you get access to the AI chat in your content. So just everything that I just showed you, you get access to all of that and you get 2,000 AI credits included every month. And you get that for $8 US a month. Now in the Pro plan, you also get access to AI commands, which I'm going to show you coming up, and you get access to 5,000 AI credits. So if you're a heavy AI user, I would absolutely recommend the Pro plan. That's what I'm on, and I find I never run out of credits, and I use AI all the time. What is a credit? How many credits will you go through? Trust me, when I first started using AI in Tana, I was scared I would run out of AI credits. To this day, I think I've only run out 1 month after having AI for a really long time. And that was just because I was experimenting with a few different things. So it can last a long time. But here's what 2,000 AI credits gives you, okay? So Tana also has a meeting bot that can go into your meeting and transcribe meetings. That is part of your AI package. You get 400 minutes, 50 images generated, okay? So you can generate images with DALL-E. In Tana, I don't do that very often. You could generate 225 blog posts or 425 minutes of voice transcription. So it is quite a lot of credits depending on how you use it. If you're on the Pro plan, you get 5,000. So it's just a little more. So 1,000 minutes of meetings, 125 images generated, 570 blog posts. You know, it's quite a lot. Like even I'm a prolific creator and I'm not creating 570 blog posts. Okay. So if you're worried about kind of credits and are they going to run out, really, I've never, ever run into that. I think that like most people that are using AI these days, probably using about 2 different subscriptions, ChatGPT subscription, Claude subscription, maybe they're, have Gemini through their Google App subscription. Most of these are about $20 a month. Okay. So if you consider that, if you're paying $20, $40, $60 a month, then paying $14 a month for a Tana subscription seems like a pretty big bargain in my eyes. All right, so let's talk about converting your custom GPTs into custom commands in Tana, because that's really where the powerful AI workflows can happen. And that's where you're going to see the biggest difference in your workflows in working with AI in Tana. So in Claude or ChatGPT, what you've most likely got is a bunch of custom projects or custom GPTs in your sidebar, okay? And the way this would work is you click on your custom GPT and then you put your query in and you start your chat. In Tana, it works a little bit opposite, okay? So you would have something that you're working on. A note, a project, a piece of content, something like that. You would have that tagged in Tana as that particular thing, and you run your custom GPTs on that item. So they, if I've got a bunch of my content ideas, I would have all of my custom GPTs for content ideas listed so that I can choose them. Okay. So just so you kind of understand how to set up and how to kind of migrate these in. So let's jump over to Tana and see how this works. All right. So this is my YouTube video super tag. So this is a particular video. I published it a few weeks ago. You can see that it's tagged with YouTube video. And on here, I've got a menu, which I call my Creative Copilot, but basically it's filled with all of my custom GPTs. So this shows up on any of my content super tags. So YouTube videos, posts, shorts, newsletters, whatever it is, whenever I'm working with content, I've got all of my custom GPTs listed here. So it looks a little bit different, but actually I like how this works because I'm not in content and then going to a list of custom GPTs and then trying to work between. I'm literally here. And if I was working in this particular video, I've got all sorts of things here, right? So I've got a general Creative Copilot, which I can open and then chat through anything that I need. I've got all sorts of things that I can use for YouTube, brainstorm partner, intro workshop, packaging generator, all of that. And then the list goes on. So if I was to click on my Creative Copilot, the chat opens and there is a whole lot of context that has gone off to AI. And I'll show you what my Creative Copilot looks like. But it includes stuff about me, about my business, about my content pillars, about my writing style, everything. And then I can start to ask questions of my Creative Copilot. And I love having that kind of built in. It's kind of just a general all-rounder type of custom GPT. In order to set stuff like this up, what you're going to do is you want to create your custom commands within your super tags. So what I would suggest is if you've got custom GPTs, have a look through them and categorize them into what are the objects that you use them on. So content is a great one. You might also have let's say, tasks or projects or whatever it is. So find the super tag that you want to apply your custom GPT to, and then all you have to do is come here and just go right click and go configure. What you want to do is scroll down, look for your AI in commands, and what we're looking for is you'll see a compact menu and a full menu. Now, the basic differences here is compact menu shows up when you have a node that's closed, okay? So if you're looking at it in context and it closed up, you'll see a compact menu. You'll see a full menu when you're zoomed into a node. So I use mostly the full menu and some things in my compact menu, but all of my AI commands are in my full menu. So you can see here, if I open up this group, that you've got kind of commands in here. So let's have a look at the Creative Copilot command and how that is put together. So all of these custom commands, I use the Start AI Chat command module. Okay, so this here is a module that we can use for any of our commands that starts an AI chat. All right, so if we open this up, there's basically one different way to configure this. It's called an agent. So here we've got an agent. I call it my Creative Copilot. If I open this up, it's made up of a system prompt. And if you've created a custom GPT, you would be familiar with the system prompt, right? So the stuff that you put in that you want AI to know about. Okay. So for my particular Creative Copilot agent, act as a ghostwriter, you will learn about my writing style in my Creative DNA doc. So I've got a whole bunch of things in here that it learns from: my writing style, common words and phrases, my writing personality, my core values, my writing quirks. If you want to know how I created this creative DNA doc. If you use ChatGPT a lot and you want it to kind of get you and think alongside you, then I have a full workshop called the Creative Copilot. You can go and check it out. I'll leave a link in the description below. I tell it about my content pillars. Again, that's I'm just referencing different parts and other different notes that I've got in my Tana workspace. And then I kind of give it instructions about what I write, how I think about things, my personality. And then I give it this tag here, the sys context, and that kind of inserts anything from the current node that we're on up into AI. And so all of that gets sent off to AI. And then, so what you see when we click that button, Creative Copilot, all of this has gone off just like it would in a custom GPT. And then you can start to ask questions of it. Really easy. So if you wanted to set this up yourself, okay, again, we'll go back here in AI and commands. You can either set this up as a command at the top here. So you could write the name of your thing. So let's say we want to do one that was like a hook writer. Convert that to a command. In here, you want to type at and start AI chat. Okay, that will search for a bit and then find the start AI chat module. All right, so now you've got your start AI chat. Then just open the configuration. You're going to want to add your agent field. So press Shift period and type agent. And then in here, then we want to create an agent, which is basically our custom instructions. So I usually use the same kind of thing that I have as the actual prompt, the name of the prompt. So convert to agent. And then here you can put your system prompt in. Okay, so you saw what I wrote in my system prompt. The most important thing is that you choose context. Okay, you want to make sure that you insert the context of the node into your system prompt. Otherwise, AI will have no clue what you're actually talking about. In the chat greeting, I just always put, how can I help you? And then you don't have to have an initial prompt here. So you can send off your system prompt. So it's got all that context, and then you can start your chats, okay? And so most of your custom GPTs will be like that, okay? But the great thing about Tana is that we can also add an initial prompt. So let's say I was creating a hook writer. I could have all the details about how to write hooks, all of the knowledge that I wanted to have in my system prompt. And then in the initial prompt, I could write, draft 10 hooks, right? And what that will do is it will actually just kick off the command. So rather than kind of you then having to type, okay, create me my hooks for this particular content, it starts the whole process. So let me show you what that actually looks like in practice. So you saw here my Creative Copilot agent open the chat, but it didn't kick off that first initial prompt because I just really want to I might be asking it lots of different questions or different kind of ways. So when I showed you my Creative Copilot, it sends off the system command, and then I can, work with it with whatever query that I have. But if I was working and I just want to generate the YouTube description, for instance, I don't need to kind of type that in again. If I click on this, it actually just kicks off the process. And it's because I have an initial prompt that kicks that off. Okay, so I've got the system command that sends off the context of what we're working on. Then I've got the initial prompt, which basically says, write the description. And so I don't have to come in and write a description. I can come here and say, I don't like how you worded that, that kind of thing. And so all that is just adding an initial prompt that kicks off that process. And then, things start to happen in your chats. And so you can build as many of those custom commands in your super tags as you need. So like I have here, you could start to build out all of your custom GPTs right within Tana, and you can choose the model that you want to work with. And it really is so easy to be able to work with your notes and have kind of these custom GPTs built right in to your process. All right, so very last thing, let me show you how to find all of your recent AI chats. Now, if you've ever worked with the sidebar in ChatGPT, trying to find an old chat from somewhere, it is a nightmare. Well, in Tana, it's actually so much easier. So this is my home node, okay? And so this just basically means that this is everything that shows up when I open up my sidebar, okay? And you can see here that I've got a search that finds all of my recent AI chats. I like this because sometimes I do need to kind of revisit something, I might continue a chat, those kinds of things. So I just like to see this. So if we open this up, you'll see all of my recent chats, which is some of the ones that we've just started. You can see where they belong to. okay, underneath. So this is kind of the node that they're a child of. And then there's also other different ways that I can start to see these. So I might want to group these by their created time, for instance. And so I can see this is today, this is yesterday. So if I'm looking for a certain date, this is gold. I find this really, really helpful. So to create something like this, it's actually the easiest search that you're ever going to create in Tana. So if you're in your home node, you can just go question mark and then create a search node. And then in the query builder, you're just going to type in capital letters is chat. That's it. Okay. Then you can go done, and that's going to find all of your chats. And then like me, you can rename that to recent chats. Okay. You can also come here and you can sort. So I like to sort this by created time and descending. So I'm always seeing the most recent chats first. You can also, because you start to get a lot of chats in here, if you like anything like me, you can put your cursor anywhere where it says recent AI chats and just go Command K and then configure your node, and you can kind of limit the page size. So let's say we want to see only the last 10 chats. You can just type 10 in there, and it just means that you kind of then can flick between your pages rather than seeing a big long list of things. I find this fantastic. I also keep this pinned. Okay, so you can see this in my pinned chats, and all you need to do there is if you open up your sidebar, you can just drag this in to your pinned section. And that's a really easy way to get back to your chats easily so that you can, find whatever you need again. And now the sky's really the limit when you have AI integrated into your workspace. I'm really now starting to build out so many different AI workflows because they're just so easy to kind of, insert in and then be able to call up, depending on what I'm working on. So you obviously saw all of my commands, within my Creative Copilot agents. And there's just so many things that I just keep adding in. But I also have other kinds of commands. So in my notes, I have a whole heap of different commands from, helping me to find different collections and connections within my notes, how to turn my fuzzy thoughts into actual ideas, a whole lot of different Readwise agents, all these agents to help me explore and distill ideas. So it really does become a very powerful way to work with your notes and your ideas. But then also on my day page and my week page and, when I'm planning my month, I have a whole lot of commands that I use to help me plan my day, to help me wrap up my day, clean up today, all sorts of commands that I have on my week super tag and my month super tag just to help me. I call this my chief of staff, to help me get work done in a better way. So there's so many different ways you can use AI chat in Tana and use these new agents. I've got a heap of videos that I've been doing. So go back through my YouTube feed and have a look at those and get some more ideas on how you can integrate AI chat into Tana so that you don't have to be switching between all of these apps, but you have integrated AI workflows right in the place that you work. I hope I convinced you that having AI built into where you actually take notes and do work means that you can work smarter, faster, and hopefully save some money. But if you really want to deep dive into setting up your own AI agents, then check out my other video on how to build your own AI agents in Tana. Trust me, it's super powerful and not too hard. And don't forget, if you want to build a smart digital workspace that works harder than you do, I'll leave a link in the description for my Tana Fast Track course. And if you want more Tana content in your feed like this, then make sure you like and subscribe to the channel.